Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, venture capitalist, securities analyst, and advisor, Morty Davis is a Wall Street legend. In addition, Mr. Davis is an outstanding economist and highly articulate, incisive, and very entertaining political analyst and strategist. He's Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical economic and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on the news making the headlines is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Hello again. I'm delighted to be back with you this Wednesday, 6:30 in the evening, as I am every Wednesday, along with you all, my fellow participants in improving this podcast, and my loyal listeners, and want to thank you for your participation in helping with your comments during the week, that covers the news of the prior week, and your criticisms that help make it a much more incisive, interesting, and rewarding experience. So I love you for your participation and the fact that you are cohorts in developing my cohorts in developing this great podcast, and all my listeners, our listeners. So it's great to be back with you, my favorite people, because you add so much to my wisdom and knowledge with your insights, criticisms, constructive advice and suggestions that you send me in anticipation of the weekly meeting we have. Your participation is enormously helpful in improving the quality and the importance of this podcast, because it brings so much insight and wisdom and constructive criticism, and even the criticism that you send me during the week that often gets me angry because I think it's too harsh, turns out to be fabulous in improving this podcast, because it makes me think about it, and it adds to my own wisdom, my own maturity, and my broadening my understanding and views of the discussion that we have. So thank you for joining and being fellow participants in preparing this great podcast of the prior week's events. And so welcome back. I hope you purchased Happiness Guaranteed, the book on the screen before you, my latest publication. The one before that was called Making America Work Again, from which Trump seems to have developed, and also from the praise President Ronald Reagan did for that book, Making America Work Again, and named his own campaign, successful campaign of Making America Great Again, MAGA. So thank you for your comments. I love you, and I'm delighted to be back with you this Wednesday evening, 6:30 p.m., as I am every Wednesday at this time. So welcome back, and God bless you. I love you all for the contributions. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, Morty, so let's jump in to some of these issues, and as we've done in the past, frequently they center around our president, because if President Trump is nothing, he's certainly controversial. So we know about the president's a social media site, Truth Social, and how he uses that to communicate with the American people and with foreign leaders and with Congress and with pretty much the press. And in the past has announced things and said things which move markets, whether it's a ceasefire or his view on the Fed or his view on unemployment or tariffs or something. His posts on that social media platform do move markets. So he announced, or his company announced, Trump Media, that they plan to sell to Wall Street firms faster, like millisecond level access to posts from influential Truth Social accounts, which is basically he's the largest has the largest following. I think his two sons have the next largest following. So influential Truth Social accounts basically mean Trump and his two sons for a fee. Early access to those posts, which depending on what they are, often are market moving. So what's your thought? Is this a legitimate financial data service? Because it is true that other platforms do have premium services where people can get early access for a fee. Is this that, or is it an improper attempt, to monetize presidential information while giving wealthy traders an advantage?
This is much more advantageous because they're getting inside information that nobody else gets before anybody else gets it. Only the wealthiest subscribers to Trump's
right. Although good information is something that people with resources have always had access to.
Yeah.
So I guess, I'll take the other side. Is this what's wrong with that? I mean, our country's based on being able to get nicer things or better things or quicker things if you can pay for it.
Absolutely, but not to take advantage to make profits when nobody else other than the very rich can, by getting inside information sooner. So you just heard from one of my remarkable cohorts, Len Carter, who's joining me today as my co-host and guest. After my badgering him and persisting and calling him, he agreed to come on. And so thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Morty. Always good to be here.
And as I told you before, he's a genius. He's graduated with honors from every major university, any of the most impressive universities in the United States, where he earned a master's, an undergraduate degree and a master's degree in electrical engineering, and then attended, as I did, the best business school in the world, Harvard Business School, where both he and I graduated with advanced honors, with distinction. And so, after much badgering and persistence and endless calls, has agreed today to join me once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Morty. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, it does seem like this is a form of non-public material information, which is kind of the definition of insider information. We'll see what happens. I mean,
Not the definition. It is inside to the extent that they're getting an advance of all the rest of the world. That's inside.
The interesting thing will be who's going to stop them. You know, that, which is the same question that comes up on a lot of our discussions on actions the president takes. You know, the real mechanism for punishing a president is impeachment and trial. You know, but that's something
but they could punish the people that use it by taking back the gains they experienced from using that information. And not only that, maybe putting them in jail for trading on inside information.
So that's an interesting question. Is the recipient, is the provider of the inside information? I mean, certainly the provider, I guess you make the case both are, right? So the people who receive the information could be certainly penalized, arrested, prosecuted by the...
But if they didn't use it for illegitimate criminal purposes, there's nothing to be punished.
Well, yeah, I mean, just profiting.
I'm saying they're making profits from illegitimate use of
Presumably, they're just not paying for it just so that they know if there's going to be something happening. Yeah,
that wasn't the intention.
So that's interesting. So the second economic toolkit in the president's availability is tariffs, and we saw the last couple of weeks the air quality in a large part of the country, here in the New York area especially, really bad from Canadian wildfires, which blow from up in Canada across and down. Bad smoke knows no border. It doesn't get stopped at the border and has to show a passport. It comes right through the border and goes wherever it wants to. And so President Trump was very upset with the air quality. He believes that Canada should be held accountable for having that air, or causing that air, or allowing the air to come across the border to hurt Americans. And somehow, for failing to control the cross-border wildfire smoke somehow. And as a result, need to be financially held responsible in one form or another. And as usually in President Trump's approach, through tariffs, somehow tariffing them as a way to penalize them economically for doing this. So, is it in any way, reasonable or sensible to hold another country accountable? I mean, at some level, the country, is perhaps responsible for wildfires. I mean, a lot of people here say some of the California wildfires were caused by, bad electrical grids or improperly manufactured energy transportation or whatever. So if that's the case, do you hold a government responsible, for something like this? Or are there other ways to address the problem, like through some kind of cooperation as opposed to economic punishment? What do you think? Send them a bill for your house, for your lungs, for your cough?
Well, Trump has talked about that, about charging Canada for all the damage.
Right. Is that fair? How about the air from Canada? Do you somehow try to bill Canada for sending over bad air and not somehow controlling their forest fires? Is that their responsibility, or does just nature happen and there's nothing we can do about that?
I think it depends to some extent on what Canada says.
Yeah.
That the United States has abandoned climate control that's responsible for and were they involved in climate control, this wouldn't happen. So they have an argument, and Trump can use.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting take with the climate change. How that certainly, many argue, is responsible for some of these extreme weather conditions, including extreme heat, and some of that causes wildfires and other things.
The minute Trump got in, he canceled all the climate control issues that were supposed to make for a better climate.
So we're almost out of time. So there's one more thing I wanted to get your take on, which is last week we saw the president give a primetime address on one of his favorite topics, which is election security. He was saying how China interfered in the 2020 election, highlighting alleged vulnerabilities in the voting system and urging Congress to pass his Save America Act. One thing else, two statistics I thought were very interesting, that in a recent Reuters poll in April, 31% of people polled said that the 2020 election was stolen. In a poll in The Economist says 50% of Republican voters say the 2020 election was rigged. 50%. 46% of people polled agree with this statement, that a large number of fraudulent ballots were cast by non-citizens. 46%. I mean, to me, that is astonishing when really, other than, people saying this, there really hasn't been any, what
evidence.
The court would call evidence.
Right.
I mean, even, Trump's own Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, in 2020, said there was no evidence of fraud, and certainly no evidence that it changed the outcome of the election. I mean, is it likely that there were some people who voted who shouldn't have, or people get an absentee ballot for a dead person and fill it out and mail it back in? Does that happen? I bet it does.
Sure.
But is it enough to change the outcome of the election?
Well,
that's what
Trump sued, and his people sued, and all of the courts reviewed it, and most of them were led by judges that Trump himself appointed.
Yep.
And not one of them found any validity to the point.
So why does this just keep going on and on and on? Is it, some people think that he's sort of setting a stage for undermining confidence in the midterms coming up in a few months, that maybe, this is not about trying to, change anything, obviously, that happened in prior elections, but if the outcome of these 2026 midterms is not something Trump likes, meaning the Republicans don't do well, then is this sort of setting the groundwork for,
Right.
I don't know, some kind of
Rejection.
effort to change or to
Reject the result.
deny or reject or do something like that. I don't know. I mean, will you think it'll backfire? There's people that say this Trump's whole undermining campaign here could backfire, because if he achieves what he's been doing, which is to tell people elections are not fair, then people may just believe him and not vote. Like, why am I voting if this is just not fair? And if that happens, particularly his Republican supporters, then does he wind up hurting himself and hurting Republicans because they'll just sit it out? So do you think it has a chance to backfire? Wind up doing the opposite of what he wants it to do.
Conceivably it could, yeah. But he's got a neurotic attachment to that view that the 2020, no matter what evidence comes up to the contrary, even the reviews by all of the...
But half of Republicans believe it. Based on what? Based on just his saying it.
Well, yeah.
And 31% of voters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's astonishing.
Yeah, he's got a big following. But the evidence...
But you don't need evidence.
But
you don't need evidence. If 50% of Republicans believe that...
But if you want to do something about it...
I mean, that's the good
news.
You
need evidence.
Right. I mean, hopefully, in our country, at least for some period of time, there will remain courts that require evidence and not just what what I feel, right? I feel what people feel.
Well, he did take it to all the courts.
Right.
Almost all of which were courts that were led by judges that Trump himself selected.
Right.
And none of them found the slightest evidence that there was any deviation that caused a change in the result. Were there some issues? Yes, but there always are.
Yep.
So...
All right. Well, this has been an interesting discussion. We are out of time. We'll reconvene again when
I have a problem that they don't deal with the real issues. Affordability. And there's a track record of what's doable and successful. And they don't deal with that. For Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when the farmers were going broke, when people didn't have money to pay for the crops that were produced, were going bankrupt. They were losing their farms. They couldn't pay for fertilizers. And he dealt with the problem, the issue. You deal with the issue. The main issue now is affordability. Can he do anything about affordability? Absolutely. Did Roosevelt do anything about it? Yes. Right away, he gave subsidies to farmers, and they were able to pay for their crops and their fertilizer, and saved them from... They saved that institution, the whole agricultural America, from devastation. So there's things you could do. We have to learn from our past experience. I'm really pissed off at the fact that both Netanyahu and Trump both have this attitude. And they go at this. They started a war. They're involved in a war. And they both have the same issue. What do we do at the end of the day? which is the most ridiculous question. You know, it's a logical one, but a ridiculous question we never faced with Hitler or Tojo of Japan when the Nazis attacked us, or when Japan attacked us. We decided not on regime change so much, because if you have regime change and you put in the same leaders or different leaders but with the same philosophy and the same goals, you haven't accomplished anything. So we recognized that and we put in our own leadership. We took over. We didn't say, what are we going to do the next day? We did it. Roosevelt did it. He took over the countries. And in this case, Trump says we won the war, we destroyed their armies, their navies, their weaponry, their everything. You know, what are the major weapons they have?
Missiles.
Their missiles and the
Drones.
Drones, that's it. The missiles and the drones. We won. He says we won the war. So we won the war. Why is he negotiating? Go in and change what you want and run the place, as he did, as Roosevelt did with MacArthur in Japan, and as we did it in Germany. We took over the country. We didn't have elections for 8 years in either Tokyo or in Nazi Germany till we were satisfied that we had total control and not a return to a new regime that would be with the same philosophy and the same end game that would accomplish nothing. So we took over the countries. You know, it was successful because it worked. Why don't they just do that? I don't know what the problem is.
Yep. All right. So
They know the formula for success because Roosevelt introduced it. So why aren't they doing that?
Yep.
Why?
I don't know. So let's.
You know, you don't want to tell me.
That'll be the topic for next week. How's that?
You know, you don't want to tell me.
Yeah. All right, we are out of time, but thank you for an interesting discussion. It is. We'll leave them hanging.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Morty.
Thank you, Mr. Len Carter.
All right.
Have a great week. I love you, and I look forward to being with you same time next week, 6:30 Wednesday night, same station, same way. Have a wonderful week, you and all your loved ones. Everything wonderful to all of you. And God bless you. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Len Carter.
Thank you.